Hey, what's up guys? It's Bjorn from Triassic Park Triops again, and today I got a new video for you guys. It's going to be about the main tank a little bit, and later I will show you guys more about feeding your Triops. I will show you guys a little bit more about the products that I am using. I bought them, they are not sponsored, so keep that in mind. First we're going to take a look at the main tank. There are about 3 Triops alive currently. I actually transferred 5 of them, but 2 unfortunately have passed away due to some complications. I have been looking at them quite often. One had something stuck between his mandibles, which caused him to not be able to feed anymore. So, yeah, he probably starved, and well, it didn't go well, of course. Um, the other ones are doing very well, and they are actually pretty doing well with the Amano shrimp as well. I added some Amano shrimp to the tank recently, and well, they are actually really cleaning up the plants right now. A lot of algae has been removed, and a lot of dust particles have been removed. The plants are actually breeding again and are showing new growth after some weeks. So I'm really happy that everything is getting yeah, like everything is getting fine again. I had a lot of trouble with algae in the previous tank and in the previous scape that I built. There were some problems. I tried to tackle these problems this time in the new scape that I got over here. And actually, I have seen a lot of changes, and they are definitely positive changes this time. So I was really happy. And well, I also have a new plant, so let's have a closer look, guys. Let's take a look in the tank. So here are some of the Amano shrimp. They are actually chilling inside the little Catappa bark cave. I placed this for the pleco, but actually the Amano shrimp are inhabiting it right now. They really like to pick on the bark, and definitely during the night they are spending a lot of time inside this little bark over here. I was always looking inside the tank, but they were closer than I thought. They were always just chilling over here at the front of the tank. I really like the new Amano shrimp. They are really useful creatures. They have these little delicate little leggies and claws, hands, fingers, I don't know how to call them. But still, they can pick on even the smallest little dust particles. They can get inside the smallest little caves and crannies inside my scape. So I'm actually really happy that they are here now. They are definitely helping out with cleaning the tank a little bit. And since they have been here, actually my Bucephalandra plants have been definitely way more beautiful than ever before. So really happy with these guys, and I'm actually also really happy that they are able to be kept with Triops so far. They haven't shown any hostile behavior towards the Triops, and the Triops didn't have shown any hostile behavior towards the Amano shrimp as well. So that's really awesome. Really happy that they are actually friendly towards each other. I had some troubles with some companions for the Triops in the past. For example, with the coolie loaches. And well, these coolie loaches just kind of massacred my Triops. So I definitely did a little bit more research on the Amano shrimp. However, they are some scavengers, just like the Triops. They do not actively attack the Triops. So I'm actually thinking that they are completely fine companions with to keep with Triops. Do note the requirements of your Amano shrimp, of course. Here are 2 bigger adults right now. These are Cancroformis albino Triops. They are pinkish, albino colored. Well, not colored, they are actually transparent, but as you can see, I am feeding them some carrots right now. And I think this is a great moment to switch over to the next subject, and that is feeding your Triops. Feeding your Triops actually has several differences than with just regular fish, because we are going to experience several stages with Triops. They are quite similar with fish maybe, but still I will explain everything a little bit more later. And If you want to also have a look at my feeding videos, you can find several videos on my channel that are about feeding your triops with spirulina algae powder that I will talk about a little bit more later. And there are other videos where I kind of show what you could feed to your triops. And as you can see, one of the examples is carrot. Carrot is a really attractive vegetable for the triops. They really like to feed on carrots. I usually will always boil all the vegetables that I feed to my triops, and just to make sure that I get rid of any, nasties and parasites or anything else. Over here you can see the trout is a little bit looking for food right now. It is also possible that they will go for plants and their roots as well. Particularly this species, the Cancroformis albino species, is a species that seems to be a little bit more of a herbivore, so they actually do tend a little bit more to eat on your plants. And as well, they are able to remove some black beard algae from your leaves as well. I have been spotting the triops eating some black beard algae as well, and I was really happy to see that, because usually none of my fish would actually eat the black beard algae. So it was a really nice discovery that my triops were actually feeding on some black beard algae recently. And as you can see, one of them is actually tending to my Bucephalandra plants right now. What they like to eat is the soft parts of your plants, basically dead leaves, roots as well, but they also are able to eat healthy roots, but mainly they will go for dead plant parts. Triops really like detritus. Detritus is like a collection name for organic dead material. So it can be like leftover fish food, rotting wood, leaves, anything. If it's dead, if it's organic, they will eat it. So basically, they love to like this. Right now, this one is actually snacking on some algae that is growing on the edges of my leaves. And this is a common practice for the triops. They will just try to attach themselves like this, and they will just try to snack on the algae that's growing on the rims of the leaves. Really useful. Um, and as well, sometimes they will skim the surface for snacks as well. Really useful little critters sometimes. And as you can see, they are actually fine with each other. However, the Amano shrimp are definitely more delicate creatures than Triops. Give me a second, guys. The clock is ringing again. It will be over soon. So that's it with the clock. I'm sorry, guys. I should plan this stuff a little bit more. But let's have a look at the triops again. As you can see, they are kind of grazing on the rocks right now. Also looking for some detritus beneath the roots and stuff. Really their go-to places. Hey, this one is swimming right now. Oh, actually, now I see this. This is also one of the triops' favorite foods. Let's zoom in. Roots of floating plants. This is one of their main go-to plant foods. If you actually have floating plants, make sure that you actually can lose them. Tribes really like to eat the roots, and they actually are capable of just trimming down all of the roots in several days. So I actually have these floating plants just as a little as a little experiment on how fast I can grow them before the tribes actually killed all of them. So this is just to check out if it's possible to grow them faster than the tribes can eat them. The shrimp keep them clean as well, so definitely a useful plant for both shrimp and triops. Let's move over to the table where I prepared most of the bottles that I have with the food that I give to my triops and to my fish. Do note that I do have some sucker fish as well inside this tank, so I actually have to take care of 3 types of animals. I have triops, some suckerfish, Otocinclus, and I have the Amano shrimp. So I actually did kind of consider all of them, like if the food would kind of be suitable for all of them, and that's basically where my choices were dependent on, like were made on. So let's move over to the table, and I'll show you guys what I feed to my triops. So we're back at the table, and these are the products that I mainly feed to my triops and the other critters that are living inside the Triassic Park triops main tank. First, we're going to take a look at the early food that we're going to feed to the triops napoli, because is actually a difference between feeding your napoli and feeding your juvenile and adult triops. Monopoly triops actually are filter feeding, so we definitely need to actually supply micro foods, and we can do this in several different ways. I will just show you, and we are going to start out with the spirulina algae powder first. This is one of the easiest viable micro foods for your triops napoli. I am not much of a fan of it because it is possible to overfeed your triops with this stuff, but it is also a really good food if you're able to dose it right. If you want to know how to dose this spirulina algae powder, you can actually have a look at my channel. There is a video on how to feed this stuff properly and feed it safely. If you bought a commercial kit, you will usually get a little packet of eggs, and there is actually some kind of wood, sticky leaf stuff around together with your eggs, and this is called detritus. Detritus is actually organic material, as I said previously, and you can actually make it yourself. I actually use oak detritus that I made myself. If you want to know how to make oak detritus or leaf detritus yourself, there is a video again on my YouTube channel that you can watch, and it explains how to make detritus for your little triops napoli. So basically what this stuff does, it has some cysts on it that basically work the same like triops eggs. Once it comes in contact with water, it will actually hatch and grow something. And basically this stuff grows micro food inside your container, to basically tell it really short. It grows algae and bacteria, all kinds of stuff that your tribes will try to feed on, your tribes napoli. And it is a really beneficial substance inside your water as well. It kind of conditions your water, and later when your tribes are juvenile or adult, they will actually also be able to eat the leaf itself for the fibers. So it is a useful food source for tribes. That's why I always make sure that I have a lot of it. I usually collect the leaves during autumn and make sure that I make enough for a year. So then I will just storage them inside these jars. Oh, let's move on. If your tribes reached the adults of the juvenile stage, you actually want to try to feed them something that you are going to feed them later. And for this reason, I actually made a little mix of most of these products. The Tetra Foods and the JBL food and the Syrah food together, and I mix it into a little powder form, as you can see it over here. This is what I feed to my juveniles first. So basically they are little tiny crumbs of all kinds of beneficial food types that I collected over the years, and that seem to be perfectly fine to feed to your tribes. So this is basically a power mix that is made by myself, and I have a larger course form when the tribes are actually growing up a little bit and I want to feed them larger pieces. Then I use these pieces. Same recipe, just a mix of all these foods together, and just in a larger course. Let's have a look at the other products. These are Hikari micro wafers. These are tiny little wafers that I feed to my triops and to my Amano shrimp. Basically, I always try to scatter around a bit of these little flakes. Make sure they are, how to say, that they are like everywhere in the tank, just to kind of activate the preying behavior and scavenging behavior, not preying behavior, excuse me, the scavenging behavior of your animals. They will just wander around in your tank looking for food, and they will just find these tiny little particles and keep looking on for more. So it kind of gets them a little bit more active. If you dunk in a tablet, like one of these like tablet, or just a wafer, basically they will just stay on the same spot, and actually sometimes they will start fighting each other as well. So it's a really good option to go for little tiny particles, so they actually can all have a piece and eat in peace as well. Um, then next we have some Tetra Pro algae wafers. Actually, it is a funny thing. They are called Pro, but they actually kind of polluted my water really bad. So I kind of stopped using these. They are tiny little algae wafers. Let me open up for a second, guys. Give me a second. Hold on. As I said, tiny little wafers are just algae crisps. I do feed them sometimes to the juveniles or to the fish as little treats, but I'm not using them as their main food because they basically pollute the tank really bad. Triops motion, like with all the tiny little leggies, it just makes the tank a little bit more cloudy, so I was not using these too much and too often anymore. So I'm just going to put these to the side. They are a good food source, but kind of polluting your water a little bit. So not completely happy with this product. Then we have the Pleco veggie wafers. For obvious reasons, I have some suckerfish, so this is a suitable food source for them. And the Triops actually really like them as well. So they are tiny little wafers. You can break them up in little pieces to make sure every one of your creatures actually gets a little piece. I tried to feed them whole and kinda started some little fights between the Amano shrimp and the Triops. They actually wanted to bring it like the whole piece to a peaceful place, and this kind of started some yanking on it and not able to get it, so it's kind of started some little tiny fights. Then we have the tablets. It is a tablet kind of dissolving like bottom feeding supplement food. It basically looks like a pill. You just drop it inside the water and it starts to dissolve really slowly over time, releasing tiny particles for your suckerfish to feed on as well. But I kind of find out that it did not work very well with triops because triops are pretty wild creatures and it actually forms a giant cloud of this stuff inside your aquarium. But it is still a possible food source if your triops are not nearby and your suckerfish are eating it. So I actually am using them still, but it kind of can get your water a little bit cloudy. Then we have possibly my most favorite fish food that I'm always using with the triops and my fish and the Amano shrimp. It is the Tetra wafer mix. These are basic wafers. I also give them for free to my customers as well. It is a nice, easy, available, just a fish pellet that is sold in my country, and you can get them inside these large containers, and they are actually not too expensive, so they are actually pretty fine, decent. It's a pretty fine, decent food source for many creatures that are living inside my tank. As you can see, the container also shows like crustaceans and a pleco, which is a suckerfish, so it is definitely made for bottom dwellers. The container says it as well, bottom feeding fish and crustaceans, so it is a good food source for my combination of animals that I am keeping, and that's definitely why I keep this food source as the main food that I usually give them. So this is my highest recommendation. Like, this is my most favorite food that I usually give to the triops and fish and to the shrimp as well. Then we have a little treat. This is some Tubifax. It is called Novofax. It is a JBL dried pellet form Tubifax, little bricks, and basically I just break them up because this is quite a large quantity of to be fact, so usually I just break these and give them a small part. They definitely love it. It is a tiny snack for both fishes, shrimp, and your triops, so I really like these. Definitely feeding them like once a week, usually. Then for beginners, I definitely think this is a nice addition to have. The Tetra Crusta menu. It is a variation of several food types that are suitable for crustaceans. So I thought this was my first food that I ever bought, I think, because I was not completely sure what to get. There were so many bottles. As you can see, over time I kind of found out what each bottle was and what it contained and what kind of food it was. But when I started out, I completely had no clue. So if you have no clue on what to buy yourself, I thought this would be a safe guess. The Crusta menu is a like a complete food for many types of crustaceans, so I thought this was a good pick for Triops as well. And as you can see, it basically is a little variety, a little assortment of tiny foods, and it's fine. It's definitely a good product. Then we have the Sera Viper chips. It is also a main food for bottom dwellers again. Um, Definitely a nice large type of wafer. The suckerfish really like those, so that's basically why I have these. These are not like bought for the triops particularly, but they were bought particularly for the catfish instead. But I found out that the triops like them a lot as well. Then we have the other one. These are Welsh chips. These are basically algae wafers, but they also contain some kinds of bark and all kinds of fibers that are beneficial for the stomachs of my catfish. And basically, because it has all kinds of fibers, it is a good food source for your triops as well. Because triops like to eat detritus, which is like leaves, little sticks, and stuff. So it is actually a beneficial food source, possibly for tribes as well. I'm not completely sure, of course, but I definitely saw they really like these wafers as well. So definitely can recommend to feed them these kind of wafers as well. Of course, because I do have tribes and these fish, it is a good pick for me because I actually can use one type of food to feed most of my creatures. So it is a good pick for me. Not completely sure if it's a good pick for you, but you could try it out for fun if you would like to. Then we have another subject, which are live foods, but in my case, I actually always feed them frozen live food. Because when I go to the store and I buy a little bag of live food, most of the time it is way too much. And with these little frozen cubes, because they come in little cubes, I can actually break a cube in half and just give them like a smaller dose of these live foods because I actually don't want to feed them too much. You can get them in all kinds of sorts, like you can see over here. I have some white mosquito larvae, some brine shrimp, and bloodworm. You can also get daphnia and all kinds of sorts of live food, frozen live foods, and definitely a good addition for your tribes as well. What I would recommend is to start feeding this type of food like after, let's say, 1 week or 2 week possible 2 weeks possibly. Just try to give them like a little tiny worm or just one piece of one of those foods. Try to see if they actually accept it, yes or no. If they do accept it, it is free to give them a little bit more, but don't overdo it. Don't give them too much because it is not necessary to give them too much, of course. Do know that if they are too small, you don't want to have much of this stuff laying around, rotting around in your hatchery. So if they are not eating it, make sure you always remove this stuff. That's pretty much it, I think. I'm just gonna take a little bit more of a look at the stuff again. Just let it sink in, and think about if there I missed something. No, not completely sure. But if you guys got any other questions, feel free to drop the questions in the comments and I will just try to react to each one of you guys. It is hard to keep up with the comments sometimes because I'm getting a lot of comments on most of my videos. So if I'm not replying, feel free to just send me an email. I will leave the email inside the description of this video. Feel free to ask, no worries. So this is basically the type of food that I give to them. We are going to return to the tank right now and have a little bit of a look at the juveniles and adults in the main tank. So let's move over to the tank, guys. So right now we are back at the juvenile tank. As you can see, there are some traps munching on the carrot that I gave them. I forgot one more thing, guys. There are actually more vegetables that you could feed to your traps, and some examples of these vegetables are carrot. As you can see, you can give them cauliflower, peas, beans, Brussels sprouts, some spinach, and you can actually also give them some kinds of salad as well. I can recommend to always boil your vegetables first, just to make sure you get rid of unwanted guests and other stuff that's not good for your traps. Just make sure you boil it first. As you can see, they truly like their vegetables as well. And yeah, they are also always happy with some pellet food in the meanwhile. I basically always give them some vegetables and some little like tiny bits of some pellet food, just to make sure they get all kinds of food. And it is a good choice to actually put some food overnight as well sometimes. I have seen that it actually happens sometimes that they started to get a little bit too hungry during the evening, and they actually started to munch on each other. So it is possible that if your tribes are kind of looking a little bit too much for food, that they actually might kind of accidentally eat a friend. This is what I call active cannibalism. They will actually start to hunt down a weaker one of the group and start to feed on it, because they actually don't have too much food sources left. If you have a planted tank like I have, I actually always have plants in my tank. You can actually reduce the risk of your cannibalism, because the plants are actually always there, and it is a valid food source for the triops. They can also just munch on the leaves instead of a friend, so it is also a good source for your triops. What I did forget to mention also with Triops Nopli, I tend to find out that they actually really like to hang on these oxygen plants. These are Elodia oxygen plants, and I have seen a lot of times that the Triops Nopli are actually kind of munching on the algae that's growing on these plants. So what I usually do is, when I set up a little hatching container, I also add a little bit of Elodia oxygen plant, of course, for the obvious reason, because it actually produces some oxygen in your hatchery, but it also provides some algae to your little Noplis to feed on. There is one little risk also with this. If you feed your Triops Nopli within the first 24 hours, it is perfectly possible that you are actually overfeeding them. Triops Nopli are in the naive state of mind then, and this basically causes them to overfeed on any source they can get their hands on. So if you're just feeding them a little bit too much on the first day, it is possible to kill your tribes with this. So that's basically it, guys. I definitely probably forget some subjects. If you guys missed something in the video, feel free to just comment about it, and I will try to enclose your questions in the next videos. And I just tried to give you guys a little bit of an insight, because I actually got a lot of this. I got this question quite a lot of people, like, what do you actually feed your tribes? So I thought this was a fun way to kind of show you guys what is on the Triassic Park menu usually. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys stay tuned for more videos in the future. If you didn't subscribe yet, feel free to subscribe to the Triassic Park Trials channel, and stay tuned and get some more informative videos later. And of course, I will also drop some fun videos showing what these little guys are up to. And of course, you can expect the update videos, where I will tell more things about my tanks and stuff, the plants, what's going on. And well, I hope you guys enjoyed it. See you next time. You